Stop talking about comic books or I'll kill you. I don't care if the Hulk could defeat the Man of Steel.
High, finger in the moonlight, silhouette in the sky. Daredevil fight for what is right. Daredevil fight for you tonight. He is the one they call a man without fear. Never far away, whenever danger's near. Daredevil fight for what is right. Daredevil fight for you tonight.
Hey there, comic fam. Bullseye Bob here, and welcome to Everything Comics. And of course, this is another episode of Having Comics with My Coffee. And as you can tell by the intro there, I am so excited. I got Daredevil back, people. Here it is in all its glory. And thank you so much to my lovely wife, Tina, who helped me put together that great video that you just watched to introduce today's episode of Having Comics with My Coffee. And I'm so glad to be here. Of course, I am not in the Refuge today. I'm here in my own home because this was a busy weekend. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to film an episode this weekend, but with so many great comics that came out, I had to film it. And of course, I got Daredevil back, folks. And so I am definitely going to be reviewing that book this weekend. So I only have a few announcements. First of all, you can tell, again, I'm not at the Refuge Coffee House. I did, however, interview them this week. And so I am still putting that video together. That will drop probably Tuesday or Wednesday. Really excited about that. You guys get to meet the owner and proprietors of the Refuge Coffee House, folks. And I'm just tickle pink that I get to bring those guys to you. And then the other thing is this week, as you know, Comics with Bueller. We didn't have an episode this week. We both were, kind of taking the week off. Bueller went to go spend some time with his family. And but we'll be back next week. Comics with Bueller at the new Coffee and Comics show. Notice I added the new back in there. And we'll have, one of our normal episodes. Hope you join us Monday morning, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Definitely a new episode will drop next week. Be there or be square, folks. It's going to be awesome. So I don't really have too much more. We have so many books to review this week, and I'm just going to go ahead and get right into them. And I got to tell you, there were a lot. I mean, a whole bunch. And over the last, 12 hours or so, I had to really pump through all these books just so that I can do this video. And so some of these reviews might be short and sweet because there's a lot of books, but that's okay. But before we get into that, true to form, we always have our panel, not our panel of the week, but our cover of the week. And our cover of the week this week comes from the Joker 80th anniversary. And of all the covers that came out this week, the one that for whatever reason struck me the most was the Art Germ variant cover B. There it is in all its glory. I love the flames behind there, and it just kind of lights up the picture. And hope you enjoyed that one, folks. There were so many covers I could have chose this week. So many great ones, but that's the one that struck me. So hope you enjoyed that. All right. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into our books. And so for the first one, I have Something is Killing the Children, number 7. This one is written by James Tynion, and the art is done by Werther Dell'Edera. Really have been enjoying this book ever since the beginning. When it first came out, it wasn't on my radar. I picked it up because Bueller said I should read it, so I checked it out. Been loving it ever since. This particular issue, we get a little bit more into the House of Slaughter and what that's all about, the hunters and the actual creatures that are killing the children, that are kind of shadow forms. And that was all really cool stuff. Really loving the artwork inside of this. The colors are great. And James Tynion's writing, you just can't beat it. If you haven't been on Something Is Killing the Children, definitely pick this up. Oh, this one's got some damage on the cover. I'll have to check that one out. Anyway, you guys, Something Is Killing the Children is one of those books that is just awesome, and it continues to put out really good stuff. So there you go, Boom Studios. Okay, and my next book is Artemis and the Assassin, and that comes from Aftershock. And this one is written by Stephanie Phillips, and art is by Megan Hetrick. Is that right? Yeah, Megan Hetrick. And, I really liked the first one. It deals with an assassin that basically goes through time. She's given jobs to take out certain people in history. And so really cool concept. And in this particular issue, she goes back to World War II, and there's a person who's helping hide Jews from the Nazis. And for whatever reason, she's been told to go kill that girl. And it really kind of cool stuff. This girl kind of fights her back and ends up not getting killed, grabs a hold of the gadget that's on her belt, and boom, they're dropped back in history to the Old West. Really cool. That's kind of where they leave us. I'm really interested to see what happens in book 3. I like the concept. The artwork wasn't something that I'm too crazy about. It does work for the book, but still, this is a really good read. If you're not checking this one out, this is a really good one. Then we got Stealth, number 2. And this one, of course, is from Image Comics. This one is written by Mike Costa, and art is by Nate Bellegrade. And I always have to name the colors if it's great colors. And it's Tamara Bonneville, and you can't go wrong with anything that she colors. I think I like the concept of this book more than anything. Last issue, we had a character named Stealth. He's a superhero. And to come to find out that the person inside of the suit is somebody with dementia, which was just a great concept. Issue number 2 kind of goes a little bit further into the story between the relationship between the father who has dementia and is in the suit and his son who he just beat the crap out of at the end of the last issue. And so we kind of get into the relationship dynamics between them, and we get kind of a history of where the suit came from. Still really liking this book. I'm going to stay on it. But I got to tell you, if you haven't checked it out, the concept is great. You should definitely check this one out. Stealth number 2, Image Comics. This is a good one, folks. And then we have the long-awaited Batman number 92. Yes, of course, I had to get this variant cover. I got both of them, actually. I got the regular cover. I got this one. And I think I have another one on the way. But here we go. Of course, this one's written by James Tynion. Art is by Gillum March. And, oh, man, such a great comic book. Continues where we left off last time. And now we get into what some of the villains' dark designs are. And this one we really got into the Riddler's dark design, which was kind of anticlimactic, but it was fun to watch the Riddler in all his glory, trying to take Batman through, what he would consider as the grandest riddle, puzzle of it all. He makes the city a whole puzzle. And but it was kind of anticlimactic. But other than that, the action inside of here is top notch. The writing, the dialogue is great. We get a little bit of Penguin. We get a little bit of the Riddler, and then we get Punchline in all her glory. And not only do we get Punchline, but we get the first meeting and face-off between Punchline and Harley Quinn. I'm trying to figure out the difference between the two. I thought maybe sociopath versus psychopath, but that doesn't really do it justice. But definitely Punchline is an interesting character, and I definitely love this book. And we're left off with the fact that Riddler's dark design didn't work, but when Bruce Wayne goes back, he finds that the designer is at his house, and he knows who he is. And that's kind of where it drops off, and ready for that next issue, folks. I'm really enjoying this. Okay, next, we got the Joker 80th anniversary, and of course, you gotta love that Matina cover. As my buddy Bueller would say, funky cold Matina. These 80th anniversary issues are not something that I've been terribly crazy about. Most of them have been anticlimactic. even though they're gathering some of the greatest writers and artists on them. But this one here, I think it's a cut above. I only got to read 2 of the stories inside of here. I read the one with Scott Snyder and Jock doing the art. And then I read the story by James Tynion, which is kind of the origin of Punchline, which was a really good story as well. I'm looking forward to getting into the rest because there's some great artwork inside of this book. And I can already tell that the stories are just a little bit better. I think that's kind of, a cheat. I mean, it's kind of, I think it's easier to write the Joker than it is to write Batman. And that's probably why there's a lot of good stuff in here. But who cares? I love reading about the Joker. I love stories that include the Joker, and I don't think you can go wrong with this 80th anniversary issue. I think this is probably the first one I'll say is worth the $10. There you go. But anyway, check it out, folks. It's pretty cool, and there's some great covers out there if you haven't picked up any. And our next book, we have Ice Cream Man, issue number 19. This, of course, is by Image Comics, and this is written by Maxwell Prince, and art is by Martin Marazzo. And, oh man, this is a great book. I had so much fun reading this. It basically reads like an instruction manual. The cover kind of tells you it all. It basically says how to be a true apparition. And it just doesn't give you how to be an apparition in a day, but it shows you how to be an apparition when you're younger, kind of the mid part of your life, and then when you're older, and kind of takes you through the stages of life. While telling, what it means to kind of be a ghost or to feel like you're not even noticed and things like that. There's some creepy stuff inside of here, but I really love from beginning to end how he brings everything full circle. And he really does it by making it an instruction manual all the way through. I just thought that was such a great concept. Definitely a cut above. This was really, really a fun read. If you haven't been reading Ice Cream Man, every issue that I've read so far is just top notch. It's awesome stuff. Sometimes the artwork isn't, anything to write home about, but it works so well for this book. Normally the colors are a sickly pale, like sweet colors. This one has no color at all. It's all black and white like a manual. But Ice Cream Man is one of those books I look forward to every month now. I'm glad to have it on my pull list. If you're not reading this book, you definitely should be, because it's probably one of the better books that Image is putting out. Okay, here we go. Then we got The Flash, number 755 from DC Comics. This one's written by Joshua Williamson, and art on this one is by Rafa Sandoval. I don't know if Sandoval was doing the art on the last couple of books, but it didn't seem to be as clean inside of this book. But it's still top-notch writing by Joshua Williamson. It continues where the last story left off, where Paradox is basically eating up the whole timeline. And the only way to be able to stop him is for not only Flash and the Reverse Flash to team up, but also Godspeed. All 3 of them come together and basically try to get ahead of what he's doing. And basically, I'm not going to tell you what happens. There's a death that happens at the end. Paradox, will he be defeated? Check it out. Read for yourself. It is a great, great issue. I'm really going to be sorry to see Joshua Williamson go. But I got to tell you, I love his new book. His new book is pretty awesome. So we will see him do some other stuff as we go along. But definitely, if you're not reading The Flash, you're missing out. The whole run from beginning up until this issue has just been amazing. There you go. Flash 755. Great read, guys. Okay, here's another one from Image. We got Decorum, number 2. This one written by Jonathan Hickman. And the art inside of this is by Mike Huddleston. And I got to say, I'm intrigued by this book. Although there's still, just like the first one, there's a whole chunk of the book that I just didn't understand. It just didn't make sense to me. It kind of drops you in the middle of it. I'm assuming that Hickman is going to bring all this together, and so it makes it understand. But the first half of the book, I was just lost. So bear with it, though, folks, because I think there's something very special going on with this book. Love the artwork, love the colors, and I love what he's doing. And then it gets back into the assassin that we saw in the first book and kind of gets into who she is, kind of her relationships. And then basically we kind of figured that she was going to train the one girl, that she basically killed everybody and that girl was left in the first book. And that basically looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. she gives her in no uncertain terms that, she can either learn how to be an assassin or she can die. And so she's choosing to be the assassin. I think I would. Anyway, Decorum number 2, it's a solid read. Again, be prepared for, diagrams and explanations and, all the stuff that Hickman normally does. But again, the first part of this book, it drops you into a situation and I was lost. And so I'm really hoping that my assumption is right, that he's going to tie all this back together. Anyway, Decorum number 2, Image Comics. It's pretty good, folks. And then we have Undiscovered Country number 6. Of course, this one is written by Scott Snyder and Charles Soule, and the art is done by, let's just say, a couple of Italian guys that have names I don't want to butcher. But the artwork is really good inside of this. The writing is really good. It's kind of been a slow burn up until now, but this book, really things start to take off. And I think we kind of got the trajectory of what's happening and what we're going to be seeing going forward. Of course, we had the Destiny Man and Uncle Sam. They're kind of finally colliding, and we see the end result inside of this book, and them trying to basically bring the cure to the virus that's out in the world that, of course, America does have, but the craziness that America is. And the timeline that's been, messed up and makes it so crazy, just so crazy. I love the elements in this book. If you haven't been checking it out, it's batshit crazy. You'll absolutely love it. Like I said, it's been a slow read up until this point, but this one really had the story taken off again. And so I think I'm really excited for what's going to happen next, folks. But Undiscovered Country from Image Comics, definitely a good read. And then we got Nightwing number 71 from DC Comics. And of course, this one is written by Dan Jurgens and art by Roman Cliquette. Now, I really have not been on Nightwing for a while. I kind of jumped off the book because I didn't like where they were going with the character. But just to kind of tell you the short of it is the Court of Owls have basically found a way to start to control him. They had a doctor who was taking care of him use this crystal to basically implant memories that were never actually there, but he believes to be true. Of course, we know that when he was young, Batman trained him. He was Batman's ward, Bruce Wayne's ward. But they basically gave him an whole alternate reality where the Court of Owls basically trained him. And so that's what he remembers. And so now that he's kind of being cured, he kind of remembers both, and he doesn't know which is which. And it's really got him on a place of being unsure of himself, having massive headaches because he's got all this stuff going on inside of his brain. And of course, last issue, we had the Joker showing up and the Joker seeing that crystal, and that's kind of where this book goes. We still see some of that confusion that Dick Grayson is going for, but by the end of the book, we have Joker taking that crystal and implanting a whole new set of memories in Dick by basically saying, when you were young, I took care of you. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to have an alternate reality where the Joker raised him. And now we kind of see how the Joker is going to control Dick Grayson going forward into the Joker War. I'm excited for this Joker War. Like I said, I haven't been on Nightwing for a while, but it was kind of cool to hop in at this particular point to see what they're doing with the character. And since this is definitely a tie-in to what's going forward, it's definitely worth picking up. Check this one out, folks. Okay, for our next one, we got AWA Upshot, another one of their comics. They've been putting out a lot of great stuff. They're basically new just in the last couple of months. And so far, everything that they put out has been quality. I've been digging it. This is their newest one called Old Haunts. It's issue number 1. And it revolves around a bunch of old mobsters that are basically coming to the end of their life and coming to the fruition of their grand plan of retiring, getting out of the game and taking the money and running, because most of those guys, they never make it to the end of their life. They end up dying or they end up in prison. And so here you got a group of them that have made it to the end of their life and they're about to retire. But as you can see on the cover, we're not talking about old places that they used to frequent. When it's talking about old haunts, it's talking about the people that they killed along the way. And now that they're ready to retire, those people are shaking their graves and they're going to have something to say about this. And they're coming to haunt these guys. And I think it's such a cool concept. That's what I've been feeling with all these AWA Upshot books. So far, all the issue number ones, really nothing happens. It kind of sets up the premise of the story, and I really like the concept of all these different stories they're coming out with. Here's another one. I'm excited to see where they go with this book. I think it's a great concept. And so if you haven't been checking out these AWA Upshot books, folks, here's another one. Definitely check this out. It's worth the read. It's solid. I think I'm going to get a little emotional. Here it is, folks, my pick of the week. You knew it was going to have to be my pick of the week. Daredevil number 20. It's finally here. Chip Zdarsky is writing it. Marco Cicchetto on... sorry about that, folks. Looks like I lost my video. But as I was saying, artwork on this by Marco Cicchetto. And, of course, we got another great cover by Julian Tedesco. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this book for so long. This, of course, I mean, the highlight of this week, highlight of my month. Daredevil number 20 did not disappoint. The last issue, we were left with a cliffhanger. Of course, all these villains had come to basically take out Hell's Kitchen, and the Stromwyns had made it so that the police couldn't be called, the news couldn't be told, and it's basically mayhem in the city, folks. And the only people that are there are Matt, Daredevil, and officer. I can't even think of the officer's name. He's there, and I mean, it's just all hell's breaking loose. We have a face-off inside of here with Daredevil and Bullseye that's amazing. We have a face-off inside of here with Stiltman that's amazing. We have a face-off inside of here with the Rhino that is amazing. And it's just everything that I was hoping that it would be and more. There are so many great panels inside of this book. I'll show you my panel of the week here in just a few minutes. But I got to tell you, man, this is just a wonderful, wonderful book. And if you have not been reading Daredevil, you're crazy, because it's one of the best books out right now. And here's the thing. A couple weeks ago, I was watching an interview with Chip Zdarsky, who has been killing it on this book. And I found out that he has been contracted for a whole other year, baby. This has already been a seminal run. It's going to go down in history as one of the best runs ever on Daredevil. And he's not going away anytime soon. We get at least a whole other year with Chip Zdarsky on this book. You have no idea how happy that makes me. Daredevil number 20. Definitely check it out. There is a scene inside of here where Matt takes out the Rhino that is just glorious. There's a scene inside of here where he faces off against Bullseye in such a way where Bullseye, of course, he gets frustrated and he wants to kill Matt. He pulls out both guns and he starts firing. And Matt calms himself, takes out his fighting sticks, and in the Matrix style, he just starts going to town and he blocks every single bullet. And then as he's doing that, we have Typhoid Mary, who's watching this. And she has been in a church up until this point. And she sees the thing that Matt Murdock does, and she looks down on him, and she said, "Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for battle and my fingers for war," straight out of Scripture. And as she's watching Matt, she was moved to quote the Bible. You have no idea how much that just sings to my heart. This is an amazing book. If you have not got it, go get it. I don't care if it's a reprint. I don't care if you got to knock your buddy out and take his copy. Get a copy of Daredevil number 20. It's amazing, folks. All in its glory. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. There you go, folks. That's my review of Daredevil number 20. Probably not the review you were looking for, but I'm way too excited to talk about anything else right now in any other way. So there you have it. Check it out. All right, folks. So there are my reviews. I know there was a lot of books, and I went through them really quickly, and I hope you enjoyed those. My panel of the week comes from Daredevil number 20, and I was talking about it earlier. This is where he takes out the Rhino. I mean, there are so many panels that I could have showed you from this book, but this one just struck me. You got Matt Murdock, who doesn't have any superpowers except for his heightened senses, and he's taken out this gigantic dude, the Rhino, in just glorious form. There it is in all its glory. That's the one where I just completely geeked out. And there were some other panels that had me geeking out this week. I love when Harley Quinn faced off against Punchline. That was awesome stuff. But this panel right here was the bomb. So that's my panel of the week, folks. So there you have it. There's my reviews. Another episode of Having Comics with my coffee down. Hope you enjoyed it. Missed you guys. I had to do a review for this week. I'm looking forward to next week. There's a lot of great books coming out next week as well. And but there you have it. And thank you guys for supporting me. I'm only 20 subscribers away from 1,000 subs now. Thank you guys so much. By the time the next video comes out, I'm hoping that I will cross that 1,000 subscriber mark. But you know, we'll get there when we get there. Anyway, folks, remember, always support your local comic shop. And as always, Excelsior. Have a good one. Woo!
Debate whether Logan's claws could pierce Steve Rogers'